So that's got it pretty well polished up to 600. And now we're going to clean it really good and drop it in the acid for a few minutes to bring out the texture of the wrought iron. And then we'll get started on the handle. Alright, so we gotta clean this down and just spray it down with Windex and do a good scrubbing. I'm going to make sure to get any oils from my hands, any tape residue from the masking tape. I'm going to get all of that off. I don't want any of that on the surface, or you get really ugly etches. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and take Q-tip and some denatured alcohol. Get a Q-tip. Not a Q-tip, but not a Q-tip, a cotton ball. I don't know what I'm thinking. Just some denatured alcohol. Make sure that it's really clean. That's cool. I don't know if you can make it out, but you can see the 52-100 core on the spine. That's always just cool looking to me. So just make sure it's all clean, because we don't want to have to come back to this at all, really. Alright. Get our acid open. And this is just a piece of stainless wire that I've got a hook bent into. We're going to drop that in there. And that's about it for about 5-10 minutes. So we need to let that soak real good. I'll actually pull it out here in just a second to make sure there's no fingerprints or anything on it, because if there were, we would see them immediately. So I don't see any problems. So we're going to leave that alone for several minutes, let it etch nice and deep and bring out the grain of that wrought iron, and we'll get started on the handle. I've got some ironwood scales here that I'm going to use for the handle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them to a piece of liner material. But first I've got to flatten them, because they come basically flat, but basically flat's not really good enough for us. We need really flat. The first thing I'm going to do is put a belt on the grinder here on my flat platen. Again with the lung protection, especially when we get into woods on the grinder. I must have taken my safety glasses inside, so hold on a second. Okay, now that's just really roughly flattened. I'm going to go back over here to my surface plate, my granite surface plate. I've got this same sheet of 220 that we were using on the blade to make sure it was flat. I'm just going to flatten these down. You want to make a figure-8 motion with it. That way you're not biasing towards one finger or another. Really flat. And now we're got truly flat pieces of ironwood. I just grabbed this out of the etch, and you can really see a lot of the detail in the wrought iron came out nicely. That's going to be a killer knife. So that's everything we're going to do to the blade right now. And what I'm going to do now is get it wrapped up in some paper to protect it. Stick that right there. I don't want anything to touch the blade right now. Ballistol is it's actually a food safe, but it's a sportsman's oil. It's designed for cleaning and protecting guns, but does just fine on blade steel also. So it is my favorite oil to use while I'm working on a knife. And then when the knife is finished, I protect it with a wax. But while I'm working on it, I like to keep a little coat of Ballistol on it. Just helps keep everything nice and protected. I just can't get over how cool that looks. Yeah. Alright. Masking paper. Get it from any home improvement section. I used to take Viva paper towels. I like Viva for everything out here because they're very cloth-like. They don't. I've never had any problems with them scratching a blade. But I used to use a Viva paper towel. I'd wrap the blade up, like I'm about to do with this this paper. I would wrap the blade with the Viva paper towel and mask it up. And I found that it was very annoying because you could not reliably get the paper towel wrapped off of the blade and back on the blade, because there's several times here where I'll have to take this, what I call a temporary sheath, off during the process of finishing it up. So I tried this one time, and I've really liked it since. And it's just something to protect the blade from, you know, dings and scratches, because I'm going to have to set it down and all that kind of funness during the process of finishing it up. I'm going to be, you know, working on the handle and all this stuff. So I really I want something there to keep the blade from getting beat up. So I just make up this temporary sheath with what's basically craft paper. Butcher paper would do just as well if you've got some butcher paper. I know it's a waste of masking tape, but I like to be careful. And see, now I can take that off and put it back on conveniently, and it just gives me a little something to protect the blade surface so that I can set it down and not worry about, you know, where I'm setting it and having a nice clean surface to set it down on. No, just wrap the blade up and you're good to go. And even do things like that. It's very convenient. So we've got our We don't have our ironwood glued down nicely. It's glued down for crap. There's a big gap in there. Try again. The reason I could do that is because the glue hadn't set yet. That's why I checked it just then. It's very annoying. Starting over.